Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming in, making the trip from across the river even. Always great to have our new people, to be able to meet our new people. And you are here tonight because we have invited you to an orientation, and I just want to spend just 1 second and talk about what that really means. An orientation, it is to guide you, it's to point you actually in the direction for your success, to orient you to the landscape of what it takes to fit in here at Weekends Only, so you can then quickly become a high performer and be a good fit for our company. We hired you because we believed you would be a good fit. And so we're giving you even more information about what it does take, because what it takes to fit in Weekends Only is to really understand the culture. And all the messages that you're going to hear, the written and unwritten messages, is what creates culture. We want you to hear from the beginning what it takes to fit in at Weekends Only. And so I'm going to go over company history and the mission and values and how they were created. That's going to be my part, and then I'm going to turn it over to some others who are going to take care of the rest of the agenda. But I want you all to understand how Weekends Only came into being. And like most histories of companies, they have to do with personal histories. And my personal history was my first exposure to a company called Phillips Mercantile Company. It was the company that my grandfather founded on South 7th Street in this building. And this building is no longer existent. The last exit ramp going eastbound on I-64 goes right through the second floor of this, where it used to be. But in this building, it was my first experience of the family business. And my mom would take me down to this building when I was just a youngster, 10, 12 years old. I can remember going in the back of the building and looking out the back and seeing the arch of the legs like this big. The arch of the legs were starting to come together. That was 65. So I had to be like 13 years old. And I'd walk up and down these very narrow hallways, and what you'll see is very bare bones displays. As a matter of fact, look at this bare light bulb hanging down right there. And I like to say that our advertising agency seized upon this slide and they replicated that, but that actually is just a coincidence. But check it out, the original chair wall. This is how they displayed things in my grandpa's store, and old squeaky wood floors with the dining department just rode right up. What he did, he bought merchandise from companies like Burlington and Santa Fe, these railroad companies. Everything went by rail then. And in the course of the trek across country, sometimes there'd be a shift in the load and product would get damaged. Sometimes it would get damaged, sometimes it wouldn't. But if any part of that load got damaged, they'd have to, what they call, salvage it. And they would sell it to guys like my grandpa. He'd buy it at pennies on the dollar, literally like 50, 60% off, and then he'd turn around and sell it to his customers at tremendous savings. And so it was like a treasure hunt. You never knew what you were going to get. It just happened to be what was on the next rail car. But it included not just home furnishings like you saw there, but it also things like appliances. Check out the old washing machines here and hot water heaters, and there's even some high chairs, and there, check this out, a rug department in the front of on the floor. Quite, again, bare light bulb. So that was my first experience. I didn't know anything different, but that was the model that I got introduced to. And I want to submit to you that I didn't know it at the time, but I will submit that the seeds of a concept like Weekends Only were sown in me, in my subconscious at that early age. And so after I went through schooling and went through college and I decided I was going to come into the family business, we were in process of becoming known as Phillips Furniture Company. My grandpa was out of the business, Dad had taken over, and he wanted to focus only on furniture. And so we changed the name of the company to Phillips Furniture Company. And my first experience at Phillips Furniture Company as a salesperson and a dock unloader and a floor specialist and a customer service rep. I mean, this was not a big company, and so we were doing everything in the store. but it was in this building right here. And I started in 1974 as a salesperson. Now the concept originally was very basic. It was no frills. This is a picture of the store when we converted it into a Broyhill gallery, but before that it was most like what you saw on downtown. So I did have my first experience in the company was in that bare bones kind of everything lined up experience. But as time went on, our collective egos got the best of us, and we decided we did not want to be known as the salvage dealers anymore. And these Broyhill concepts were new. Broyhill was at the time a very high profile company in the country. It's kind of lost its sparkle, but at that time we were one of the first in the nation to become a Broyhill gallery. 100% in-store dedication to one particular vendor. And the inside of the store was much different. It was beautiful wallpaper and paint, beautifully decorated room settings. In 1993, but I wanted to mention this, but the move that we made at the Gravois store for the Broyhill Gallery, as I look back on it, it really wasn't a move made because we thought we were going to gain market share by doing this. It was a move because of our egos. We did not want to be known as the salvage dealers anymore. And so it was a very valuable lesson for me that it was because I learned you don't make strategic moves based on your ego, you make them based on market needs. All right, so I took over Phillips Furniture as president in 1993. My dad retired. One of the first things we attempted was to ride the wave of this new thing called home theater. Big screen TVs, surround sound systems were just being developed, and I saw it as an opportunity. We had never sold electronics. I saw it as an opportunity to gain some market share and do something innovative, and it was okay. We did all right. I mean, we created this big screen TV, as you'll see, sitting in the front of they were huge, and so that you had to buy furniture to put around them, or they looked kind of stuck out like sore thumbs in the room. But we started getting into motion furniture. It was the first time we got into motion furniture. And we found that the people really will buy that stuff, you know, if you show motion, especially in front of the TV. And even now, weekends only, gosh, motion furniture is just like hot right now for us. Anyway, notice the beautifully decorated rooms. And this was going on at the Kirkwood store. That was the picture I showed you, was in front of the Kirkwood store. And we were getting some incremental gains. And by 1995, I started to see that we really did not know where we were going. And we had a big problem at the store where I started on Gravois. Now I want to tell you that Gravois, it's a French word. The real pronunciation is Gravois, but we say Gravois. But it means accumulation of debris or a dump. That's what it means. Now I just want you to hold that for now. I'll come back to that later. But we had a problem there at the Gravois store, and the problem was that when I took over in '92, we weren't doing that great to begin with, doing about $800,000 in sales, $1 million in sales a year in that store, and then we just regularly went downhill, $100,000 every year for the next 3 years, and I realized I had a problem. And as I said before, I was new at the job of being president. I did not know what to do. So I reached out and called a consultant. It's the first time we tried to work with a consultant, and I learned about this guy in the industry, and he flew to St. Louis, and he came to the Gravois store, and he looked around, and he said, yeah, you got a problem here. And he said, I have an idea what we might be able to do, but I don't think you have enough parking, which was a total joke to me. I almost fired him right on the spot because I thought, don't have enough parking, huh? Your great idea. It turned out he was very prophetic. A few years later, we didn't have enough parking. But at any rate, 95, we had to do something differently. So he started asking us questions that I had never asked of myself or anybody in the business. And the questions had to do around things like mission and values. Big questions. Why do we exist as a company? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? What do we stand for? Who are we taking with us? Big questions. And then the question about, I don't know if it's up here or not, no. And then the biggest question was, what were you doing when you were the most successful? And so we started thinking about what we were doing when we were most successful. Well, at Phillips Furniture, what we were doing when we were most successful, when I thinking back to when I first started, is when we had a special buy or we got something on discount from a vendor and we sold it at a discount, we actually passed those savings on to somebody. Customers got real excited about that. They saved money. When we had a sale and we marked our prices down, because we were traditional retail, mark your prices down, then raise them up. Mark them down, then raise them up. When we marked them down, people bought. They felt good that they were saving money. And another thing we did was a traffic study. And the traffic study was, and the consultant said, let's figure out what our opportunity is. So we actually paid somebody to sit in a chair 24/7 while we were open and count customer units. Customer unit is like a couple, or just, it could be a single person too, but if it was a family, you counted it as one unit. We counted customer units every hour that we were open, and what we learned is that most of our customers were coming in on the weekend. So park that for a little bit. But what we were doing when we were most successful is we saw customers respond when they believed they were getting a deal, that they were saving money. And so we thought maybe we could center our existence, the reason for our being as a company, around this one very simple concept: saving customers money. What if we could save our customers money, not just when we lowered our prices, not just when we made a great buy from the vendor and we were passing the savings on? What if we could do it no matter what? Would that be different? And what I saw when I looked out in the marketplace was there were people like Marshall's and TJ Maxx. They were doing discount clothing and some other kind of home goods, but nobody was really doing extreme discount furniture. And so we thought, wow, there's a possibility here. There's a niche here. And so we had to decide what we were going to do to deliver on this promise every day of saving customers money. And so we sat down one afternoon. Now remember, all we had was Phillips Furniture. So my brother and I sat down with the consultant one afternoon, and we started to sketch out what a company could look like that was focused 100% on saving customers money. What would that have to look like? We didn't have a name, but what we had was this business, Phillips Furniture, where we were providing those beautiful customized solutions for people, where you could get your catalog and get your fabric and pick out just the frame you wanted, and we could marry the fabric to the frame, and then we'd order it for you, and you'd wait. But you got exactly what you wanted. And we displayed them in these beautiful room settings. You could really understand how it was going to look in your room. In this new business unit, we decided if we were going to save our customers money, we had to have the low cost of doing business. That means we're going to have showrooms, no frills, a low cost structure. We are going to look for opportunity buys because we found that to be extremely effective in saving our customers money. And we were going to have our customers be able to take the product with them if they wanted it, or have it delivered. And the other concept, you had to wait for it if you had to order it, right? If we were out of it, you had to wait. So that was going to be the customer value proposition. The profit formula was going to be based on low overhead and the closeout buys, so we could get the profit that we needed to continue on in the business. And we were going to go to our current vendors at Phillips Furniture. We had current vendors like Lazy Boy and Broyhill and Lane and Simmons and Serta, and these household brand names that we asked if we could buy their closeouts. And we were going to market not just to the affluent, what we were doing at Phillips Furniture is marketing to the affluent. We were going to market to the masses. And the consultant said to me, I've heard about this company in the East Coast, and they're only open 3 days a week, three or 4 days a week. We weren't really sure. And I said, really? He said, yeah, that might work here. I said, really? I said, what's the name of the company? And he said, The Dump. Now, this is Gravois. I'm thinking Gravois means road to the dump. Maybe there's an omen. Maybe this is a sign from God that this is going to work for us. Anyway, yeah, he says, called The Dump. And he says, I think they're doing okay. And later, the guy told me, the consultant told me, years after we started this business, he said, I cannot tell you how many business owners I have pitched this idea to, and in all the years I've done it, you're the only one that ever took me up on it. And I think it's because my experience at my grandfather's store that helped me to embrace it. And finally, so that was going to be our value proposition. That's how we're going to make money. And what do we need to run this business? The key resources and processes were as I said to you before, I read Walton's book, and Walton has this message of if the low cost operator wins because they can keep their prices low. So if you have the low cost of doing business, you keep your prices low, customers keep coming, you're in business. It requires low rent. One of our biggest expenses is rent. And so we started looking for abandoned locations, previously owned buildings. We'll probably never build a building of our own. We're always going to be looking for buildings to reuse and get the low rent. It's going to be no-frills facilities. Again, no frills. We're not going to have fancy showrooms. We still look to brand name suppliers. We still do that, who want to offload their surplus. And we need strong buyers who really understand customer needs, understand customer style and value. Buyers is a really strong, and one of the most difficult things to find is a really good buyer. We have some really good buyers, thankfully. And technology. Technology is going to be something we're going to continue to invest in because it gives us process advantages and helps us drive waste out of the business, which we always need to be doing. So we can keep compressing how long it takes us to bring product to market. Now, these were very different than what we had at the Phillips Furniture Store, as I've described to you before. The only thing we didn't have was a name. What we were going to call this company. And you might think we went to an agency and did all this research and work and finally went through a bunch of different options and we finally ended up with this name. It would be wrong. We did not. It is like this. We did this work on like a Friday, and on next Monday, my brother David comes into my office and says, Tom, I got the name. Really? What is it? He says, Weekends Only. And I looked at him and said, that is the name. That is it. David, that's it. It was one of the most exciting times in my life. That's the name. That's the name. How could you think that's not the name? That's an awesome name. It's so much better than The Dump. My gosh, I already felt better than them. And so then I did go to an artist and asked him to do a logo for us. And I'm going to show you the first iteration of our very first logo is right here. It was just a St. Louis, my advertising agency at the time. I just asked them to go get an hourly design guy, and they came back with this. We did have to decide what we were going to call we had the Weekends Only. We did have to decide the name was going to, also had to include the name furniture, so they knew we were in the furniture business. And then we took a long time to finally land on the word outlet because we wanted it to sound like it's here and then it's gone, in and out product. And so, picture the Gravois store at the time. Out with the old, in with the new. We ripped everything out. We started to paint the ceilings white, put bare fluorescent fixtures up, ripped everything out of it, down to the bare walls, no frills, because we wanted to communicate that. And that was in December. And in March of '97, we opened up our first store in that very location on Gravois, which we're not operating in at the moment. Well, we're not operating in, period, anymore. But this is where the concept started. And you'll see the parking lot right here in front and all around the side. It turned out where, after a couple of years, it was so successful that we couldn't handle it. And so I started to see it had legs. And so we started opening up other stores. This store in the St. Charles area, opened it in the following year. And then, there's a picture of my brother David on the left there, and me. That was right after we started, probably. And then, so we opened like 3 stores in 3 years. And I started to feel pretty confident that this company had a future. And it's so confident that I decided to engage the services. I wanted to engage the services of a design consultant, and I wanted him to create a brand that had the look and the feel of a national presence. Because in the back of my mind, I thought, I don't want to keep doing this, and if we're going to go out of market, I want it to look like it belongs out of market and not just in St. Louis. So I got this design firm in New York, who I again met at one of the furniture shows, and asked him to rebrand us. And he did some amazing work and came back with what you now know as our brand, which to me, it was done now. It was done in 2001, and it looks as current and as fresh as any logo would in today's retail. It has an enduring quality which I really, really appreciate. And if you'll notice, one of the first things that we did is we went out and trademarked it. We got a federal registration on not just the name, but also on the image, on the graphic image itself. So no one in the country can use our name or this graphic image. I mean, they can try to use it, and they might get away with it for a while unless we come into their market. But our trademark will prevail. So I'm going to fast forward to what you know the concept is now. What the concept is now, it's just kind of an expanded look of that first slide I showed you on the interior of my grandfather's store. You'll see sofas, a huge selection of sofas, end to end. Everything's in department, which most furniture stores don't do. Most furniture stores show room settings with dining room, bedroom, and living room all in one area. But we decided to make it easy for our customers to shop, and we show them by department. And we have invested in racking in the back of our stores so customers can take product with them. And then, therefore, we have customer pickup areas under roof in most of our stores to make it really easy for them. So in 5 years, we opened up 5 stores, opened up a distribution center, which we have still in Hazelwood, and we grew the business really fast. But we started to feel the growing pains of growing too fast, and even though I was really excited about our future, we did have some growing pains that we had to deal with. But it was still, in my view, I still needed to do things like present a vision for everybody as to where we were going. And there's a publication called the Top 100 list that the furniture industry puts out. And I was looking at this Top 100 list one day, back in the early days, and we were probably doing around $20 million at the time. And I'm looking at the top 100, what it would take to get into the top 100. You had to be doing about $60 million to get into the top 100. And you had to be doing $150 million to get to the top 50. So from where we started, I didn't feel like just getting to the top 100 was going to be much of a, even though it was 3 times what we were doing, it still didn't feel like a vision to me. But the vision to me would be more of what would it take, what could we possibly be in the elite top 50 of the country? Could that possibly be someplace we could go in the future? And talk with my team, and we've decided this is what we're going to put out there. We are going to be a top 50 home furnishings company in the nation. That is our calling. That is our future. That's where we're going at Weekends Only. And I'm proud to say that I'm glad we didn't pick the top 100 because we're already in the top 100 now, as we speak. We've been in it for the last 3 years. And right now we have the position of number 84. We're number 84 in the country. Pretty nice, isn't it? That's where you work. Top 100. You can say that. We're in the top 100. And moving up. Okay. back to our questions. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? We already talked about our mission, our purpose, why we exist as a business, to save customers money. But how we're going to get there is what they call a strategy. And strategies are decisions about how you're going to do things and what you're not going to do also. But one of our strategies, our key strategy in order to deliver on our promise to save customers money, is about pricing our products as low as we can go without losing money. We want to maintain a healthy bottom line because we want to be able to grow, continue to help our employees grow. But we want to practice the principle how low we can go. So if we make a special buy from a vendor, and we get it at 50, 60% off, we are going to pass those savings on to our customers. They're going to get 50 off, or 60 off, or even 70 off, depending on how we bought it. And I will tell you, most retailers don't do that. They practice just the opposite of how much can I get instead of how low I can go. And it's really hard to do. It's really hard to do. Even for me, it's hard to remember this. But when we practice it, we win. So that's how we deliver on it. And the other part where you fit in is not just how we buy, but where everybody in the company fits in. And here's what I want you to get. The better job we do at driving out waste in the business, and I'm not talking about garbage, I'm talking about anything that's not efficient. Footsteps, how many footsteps we're taking, how many steps we make in any process. Anytime we can drive waste out of the business, it lowers our cost. And we can do more. We can do more with the people that we have. And so that's what we also need to always be focusing on, is how can we be more efficient and effective. And we have metrics on that we look at regularly. So what do we stand for? So I told you in 2004, we ran into some growing pains. We opened up all those stores really fast, and we started to have cash problems and process problems. They just grew the business too fast. And we had to right-size our company. We had to get back on track as to what we were really going to be, what the most important thing was. And what I understood about that I hadn't done yet, I hadn't really set a framework for how we were going to be together as co-workers and how we were supposed to act with our customers. I had been too busy just opening stores and not paid attention to some of the things like our culture. And I intuitively knew this was a big miss, and so one of the first things we wanted to do was let's write down what our values are of the kind of company that we want to be. And what you're going to see here, and we print them out for you. They're in your little packet. We want you to know what they are, so we just ask you to take them with you and keep them in a place that you can refer to. The values that are most important for us, and that what I ask you to do is to understand them, because I want you to live them out. I want you to make them real. I want you to put flesh on these values. And this is one of the most important things you need to know to fit in at Weekends Only. So responsibility for meeting customer needs. This is a personal thing. I want you to take it personal. I want you to own the customer relationship that you have in front of you or on the phone. I want you to understand that you at that moment represent the brand of Weekends Only to them. I am trusting you. I am trusting and entrusting the brand to you. For that moment of truth between you and that customer, you are the brand. And I ask you, make sure you represent it well. I want them to know what that brand means just from talking to you, just from being with you. I want them to know that you care about what their needs are, so much so you're going to be patient and ask them questions about what they are. You're going to try to understand what the needs are, and then you're going to do the best to try to meet them. It's very important, very personal. And I also know that you're going to need help to do it. So teamwork is a very important value for us at Weekends Only. You're not alone in trying to make that promise. You're not alone in trying to deliver the brand, because we're going to give you the training to understand how to do it. And you're going to need other people to help you, because you're not going to always have the answers, and that's okay. So it's going to take a group of people to help you and for you to help them be successful in delivering on our promise. So I understand, and we all understand, we can't do it on our own, and I want you to be aware of what your teammates' needs are to deliver our promise to our customer. Because teamwork makes us stronger, and the stronger our relationships are among ourselves, the stronger we are as a business, as a company, and the stronger we're going to be in the marketplace as well. I believe it can be a real competitive advantage for us. Because I want to be a high-performance company. We want to be a high-performance company at Weekends Only, and we are. We are a high-performance company, and what that means to you is you need to understand what the processes are and work the processes in order to deliver high performance. We've worked really hard on developing them. We've worked really hard on designing what are the steps that will help you become successful and grow and be a high performer. And so your job is to understand what they are and execute. And together we got everybody doing that, we're going to be high performance. We're going to continue our high performance as a company. And that's going to take a willingness on your part to grow personally, professionally. To grow personally means you're going to be willing to say, I don't know, or I made a mistake. So it means humility. It means being willing to hear some feedback. And I want you to be willing to grow professionally too in your skill levels and whatever your career needs are. I want you to just be able to I want you to be able to reach your dreams for your professional development. But personal development is also very important at Weekends Only. And so I ask total honesty. I ask honesty of all of you, that you're not going to lie to our customers. You're not going to lie to each other. We're going to tell the truth to each other. I'm going to tell the truth to you. You're going to tell the truth to each other. And therefore, we're going to have trust between us. Because if we don't have the trust between us, then we don't have strong relationships. And that goes back to the top again. We don't have a strong company. And lastly, I want your commitment to understand that we all got to be concerned about profit, because if we are not, we're not going to be able to stay around. And I want Weekends Only to be a sustainable business. I want it to be a business where you don't have to worry about your job because we have expanded too fast, or we made some wrong decisions, and now we're in trouble. I don't want you to have to worry about your job, because we're going to do the best we can to grow the business in a thoughtful way, so we're profitable. That's what we're doing. Now, I told you we had some growing pains, and we started to stall out in 2003, 2004, and then we introduced the values. And everybody, for the first time in the business, and this was 7 years later, 7 years after we started the business, but it was the first time that everybody started to get a sense of what was expected, how we were supposed to behave, why we were doing this. What was everybody's individual role in this? And I don't know, but it doesn't seem coincidental to me. I don't know about you, but I want you to check out this growth rate. 2004 was the year of, this was the difficult year. And we went into 05 in January of 05, and I and the executive team members went into each store, and we presented the values and the mission and why we existed, and we had everybody sign on the poster board as a kind of like a symbol of, I'm going to sign up, I'm going to be a part of this, I'm going to do this. And we kept on it. We kept on it month after month, talking about mission and values, and look what happened. From 2004 to 2012, we almost doubled our business from $31 million to $59 million. This year we'll be close to $59 million. And I want you to see that there was no one year in which we made this huge monumental leap. It was like steady, very steady, 7%, 9%, 8%, 9%, 7%, 7%. And this was back when all that financial problem was hitting and people were not buying homes, they weren't our industry is so tied to people buying homes and fixing up their homes, and look what we're still able to do. Because we're not going to let what happens out there affect how we perform. We're not going to blame something out there for us not being high performing. And in 2011, we opened up a store in West County, and you'll see a bigger jump there because of that. But look what happened, and I don't think it's any coincidence. I think the stronger we are in understanding of why we're doing what we're doing here and why we do it and how to do it, I think we're going to outperform our competition. In fact, check it out. This is where we stand in the market. This is the July of 2011 Scarborough report, and of all the people polled in the St. Louis shopping market, they have a representative number of people that they poll, and more people said that they shopped for furniture at weekends only than any other store in this market. More than JCPenney, more than Macy's, who has 12 department stores here, more than Big Lots, Ashley, Rothman, anybody. More people shop at weekends only than any other store in this market. And you know, we've had this position or very close to it for the last 5 years. And we're going to keep it. We're going to keep this position because of how we think about and how we run our business. So, one of those final questions, who are we going to take it with us? Well, everybody accounted for and present in this room as a good start. But in general, what I am looking for, what we're trying to create at Weekends Only is something called an engaged workforce. An engaged workforce means that you really do understand your role here, you like what you do, you value what you do, you enjoy what you do, and it's more than a paycheck. It's more than a paycheck. And actually, if I could be so even daring to say, it actually adds meaning to your life. Because you're part of something greater, part of something bigger than yourself. Why is an engaged workforce important? Why is it important for you to enjoy, value, believe in what you're doing? Because there is an energy about that in a company. And you experience it in companies that you go into. When you see people having fun, enjoying one another, respecting each other, trusting each other, you want to be a part of that, don't you? You like being there. I do. I want that for our customers. And that's the reason why. Because customers are going to keep coming back. They want to be in a place where they feel good about themselves and they see other people feel good about themselves and enjoying what they're doing. They want to be there. And that's the brand that I want you to create for your customers. The way they feel about you is going to determine if they come back to Weekends Only. Not me, not our furniture, it's you. So, what I want for you, you just recently started Weekends Only, what I want for you here in your role. As I mentioned before, I do want you to have more than just a paycheck job. I want you to have a more fulfilling life because of your work here at Weekends Only. And this is a life that has a little bit more meaning, a little bit more purpose to it, makes you want to get up in the morning and go to work. I want you to know how you're doing. I call it a high feedback environment. So we have a lot of mechanisms to provide you with feedback on how you're doing. We want you to know what's expected, clearly understand what your role is. We want you to know what's expected and how we're going to measure your success. We want you to know how we're going to account for your performance, whether it's acceptable or needs improvement. We want you to know. I want for you to value, to believe, and enjoy what you do. I want you to know that you matter in the organization. You're just not a number. I want you to know you matter, that we value you, and that you have opportunity for growth. And if you don't know that you matter or don't feel valued, I want you to talk about it. I want you to raise your hand and reach out to your manager or reach out to HR or reach out to me and tell them, let me know. Now, what I want from you. What I want from you is I want you to know, because you matter and because your opinions matter, I want you to exercise your influence. So when we ask you your opinion, I ask you to please give it without reservation. Because what you say does really inform a lot of how we think and a lot of the decisions that we make in the business. Because you have valuable experience that we need to know. Valuable frontline experience that will help us serve our customers better. So be honest about your opinion, about what you think. Speak up in meetings, express your opinions. Be willing to take a risk also. If, and this is a little, I'm going to ask a lot of you right now, because there's no pressure like peer pressure. And if you see one of your coworkers failing to live up to our values, and even worse, doing something wrong, I want you to challenge that person. I want you to say, hey, we don't do it. That's not the weekend's only way. Come on, we can do better than that. Right, Drew? Absolutely. We could do better than that. I want you to take a risk to challenge your coworkers. Hold them accountable. I want you to take initiative. If your supervisor gives you enough rope that indicates to you that he or she trusts you not to micromanage you, but trusts you enough to let you perform at your own speed, not just work things out on your own or perform the way you want to perform, then I don't want you to squander that trust. I want you to prove to that supervisor that it was not trust that was misplaced, that he can depend on you to do what's necessary without close oversight. Being humble, willing to admit mistakes, and give people time to get their feet wet, especially new managers. New managers, and sometimes we'll switch managers around stores also, but if a manager is relatively new in your building, I ask you to give that person a little time to get his or her feet wet, create his vision, to start communicating, and I want you to trust that he or she always has your and the company's best interests at heart. There may be things that happen you really don't understand why they happen. And I want you to trust your manager that things are happening because they're the right thing to do. They're in what's in the best interest of our customer, our employee, and the business. I ask you to trust that when you have that feeling. And certainly want you to go ask your manager for more if you have more questions about what you see. So we're going to refrain from quick judgment of what we see and what we experience and of other people. And if you are a manager, and there are managers here, and I call them leaders because I do expect them to lead. I want you to do everything in your power to gain and keep the trust and confidence of your employees. It takes a long time to build that trust and confidence. But I want you to be about the work and just understand it takes just an instant to lose it. So it's a big responsibility, but that's what's needed. That's the most important thing you can do. So when we talk about value that Weekends Only is bringing to the business, value into your lives, value into our customers' lives, most people think that what makes a company valuable is how much money they make, how much profit they earn. That's what makes a company valuable. We hear it all the time. But I'm going to submit to you, I want you to look at these images, because this is how we're going to end my part of it right now, is what you're involved in is something more than a business that is making money. I want you to look at the faces. When people buy new home furnishings, if you're not a salesperson, you may not have experienced this, but this is an exciting thing for them. They get something that is going to improve where they live, improve their life, what they sit on, what they sleep on, what they see, the beauty that it creates in their room. If you look at these pictures, you get to be a part of that. We get to be a part of this fun thing. And so I would submit to you that the value that we bring to customers and to your lives as well is more than profit, more than money. I would say it's how we bring about more happiness in the world. It's our ability to contribute to human happiness that I get most excited about in having a business like Weekends Only. Because the way I think about Weekends Only, and my vision for Weekends Only, our purpose is now crystallized down to three simple things, basically. I see Weekends Only as an agent for human growth, your growth and formation. If you let us, we can help you grow. If you desire, we can help you grow and want to help you grow. I see Weekends Only as an agent for human happiness. Customers you saw happy, your happiness, giving you a place to contribute and feel good about it and be rewarded. And certainly the community, we have different ways in the community that we want to give back. And lots of it's on our website right now, but Habitat for Humanity, we have a strong desire to help in education. And just about anybody who gives, we're always seems to be giving money out to people, or furniture, free furniture. And finally, for shareholders. But this is, Weekends Only is an agent for human happiness in all these areas. And finally, I want it to be a company that's around for a long time. My play is not to build this business and then sell it. That's not my desire. My desire is to create something that lasts, that's sustainable, and that adds value in the world, one room at a time. Just one room at a time, we're going to do it. But over time, it's going to make the world a more beautiful place. And I just want you to know that's what you're a part of, and I'm glad you're here. And I just want you to understand, I hope it helps you understand, rather, how you fit in and how it can be more meaningful for you. And I want to say, finally, thank you for joining our team.